Have you ever wondered why 95% of people struggle financially while 5% seem to effortlessly accumulate wealth? Here's what's unsettling. The difference isn't work ethic, intelligence, or even opportunity. It's something far more fundamental. Something Leonardo da Vinci understood 5 centuries ago when he wrote in his notebooks about the greatest deception ever perpetrated on humanity. What if I told you that the very thing you've been taught to pursue your entire life is actually designed to keep you trapped? That every dollar you earn, save, and cherish is participating in the most sophisticated illusion ever created? An illusion so complete that even questioning it feels almost heretical. Consider this startling reality. In the past 18 months alone, 40% of all US dollars in existence were created out of thin air. 40%. That means nearly half the money circulating today didn't exist just over a year ago, yet somehow we're expected to believe this paper holds stable value. Da Vinci would have called this what it truly is, the triumph of illusion over reality. You see, Da Vinci didn't just paint masterpieces or design flying machines. He was a student of power structures, of how perception shapes reality, and how the masses could be controlled through carefully constructed beliefs. His notebooks reveal an understanding that would make modern economists uncomfortable, that money, as we know it, is humanity's greatest magic trick. But here's where it gets interesting. Vinci recognized that those who understand illusions aren't victims of them, they're masters of them. Think about your relationship with money for a moment. When you see a $100 bill, what do you actually see? Paper and ink worth perhaps 20 cents in raw materials? Or do you see value, security, purchasing power? The transformation happening in your mind is the same psychological mechanism that allowed ancient alchemists to convince kings they could turn lead into gold. The difference is, this illusion actually works, but only for those who understand the game being played. Let me share something that changed my entire perspective on wealth. I was researching historical currency systems when I discovered that every single monetary system in human history has eventually collapsed. Everyone. The average lifespan of a fiat currency is 27 years. The dollar has lasted 52 years since Nixon severed its ties to gold. We're living in overtime. Da Vinci understood something profound about human nature. We don't see reality, we see our interpretation of reality. And those who control the interpretation control everything else. Consider how money actually functions today. You wake up, check your bank balance on a digital screen, and see numbers. Not gold, not silver, not anything tangible. Just numbers in a computer system. You trust these numbers represent value because everyone else trusts these numbers represent value. It's a collective hallucination that we've all agreed to participate in. But here's the part that would have fascinated Vinci. This collective hallucination can be manipulated by those who understand its true nature. When central banks create money electronically, they're not creating value, they're diluting existing value. Every new dollar created makes every existing dollar worth slightly less. It's mathematical, it's inevitable, and it's completely hidden from most people's awareness. Think about this. Your savings account is slowly being drained, but not by theft in any conventional sense. It's being drained by the simple act of money creation happening thousands of miles away in central banking facilities. Your purchasing power decreases while the numbers in your account stay exactly the same. This is what I call the wealth illusion, the belief that accumulating currency equals accumulating wealth. Da Vinci would have immediately recognized this as a masterpiece of misdirection. While you focus on the paper, the real game is being played with assets that exist independent of monetary systems. Real estate, precious metals, productive businesses, intellectual property, scarce commodities. These represent actual wealth, because they exist in physical reality or produce real value. Currency is merely a measuring stick, and someone else controls the length of that measuring stick. If this topic resonated, share 1 or 2 words in the comments that capture what stood out to you. Let me tell you about a man I encountered in my research who understood this distinction perfectly. In 1971, when Nixon ended dollar convertibility to gold, this individual immediately recognized what was happening. While most people celebrated what economists called a new era of monetary flexibility, he saw it as the moment currency divorced itself from reality entirely. He began converting every dollar he earned into tangible assets, real estate in prime locations, shares in companies that owned physical resources, precious metals stored outside the banking system, art and collectibles with historical significance, anything that existed independent of monetary policy. Over the following decades, while his neighbors focused on salary increases and savings rates, this man watched his wealth compound not because the assets increased in value, but because the measuring stick itself was shrinking. A house that cost $20,000 in 1971 costs $300,000 today. Same house, same location, same utility, but 30 times more currency units required to purchase it. He understood what Leonardo da Vinci knew. The game isn't about accumulating the tokens, it's about understanding what the tokens represent and positioning yourself accordingly. This man retired at 45, not because he earned an extraordinary income, but because he played by different rules. Rules that the 95% never learn because they're too busy focusing on the illusion rather than the reality beneath it. The wealth illusion operates on multiple layers. The first layer is the belief that money has intrinsic value. We've already explored why this isn't true. The second layer is more subtle, the belief that earning more money solves financial problems. This keeps people focused on increasing their income rather than understanding how monetary systems actually function. The third layer is perhaps the most insidious, the belief that financial security comes from accumulating currency rather than controlling assets. This keeps the majority of people perpetually vulnerable to monetary policy decisions made by others. Vinci studied optics and understood how the eye can be deceived by carefully constructed illusions. The wealth illusion operates on the same principles. It directs your attention toward the surface while the real mechanism operates beneath your awareness. Consider inflation. Most people understand inflation as prices going up. But that's not what inflation actually is. Inflation is currency going down. The prices aren't rising, your measuring stick is shrinking. A gallon of gasoline hasn't become more valuable. Each dollar has become less valuable. This distinction is crucial because it reveals the true nature of the game. When you focus on rising prices, you become a victim of circumstances beyond your control. When you focus on currency devaluation, you can position yourself to benefit from the same forces that impoverish others. History provides countless examples of this dynamic. In Weimar Germany, those who held currency lost everything. Those who held productive assets or real estate became wealthy beyond imagination, not because their assets improved, but because currency collapsed. The same pattern has repeated in Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Turkey, and dozens of other countries throughout history. The sophisticated understand that currency is a temporary storage mechanism, not a permanent store of value. You earn currency, but you don't keep currency. You convert currency into assets that maintain their purchasing power independent of monetary policy. This is why the wealthy seem to get wealthier regardless of economic conditions. They're not playing the same game as everyone else. They're playing a different game entirely, with different rules and different objectives. Da Vinci's notebooks reveal his fascination with hidden mechanisms, with systems that operate beneath visible reality. The monetary system is perhaps the most elegant example of such a mechanism ever created. It functions perfectly precisely because most people never question its fundamental assumptions. But questioning assumptions was Da Vinci's specialty. He questioned why objects fall, why water flows, why light behaves as it does. He understood that surface appearances often conceal deeper truths. The monetary system is no different. Currency appears to be wealth, but it's actually a claim on wealth. Currency appears to be stable, but it's actually constantly changing. Currency appears to be controlled by market forces, but it's actually controlled by policy decisions made in private by small groups of individuals. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are documented, acknowledged facts that most people simply never consider. The Federal Reserve openly states that its mandate includes managing currency supply. Central banks worldwide coordinate monetary policy. These institutions have extraordinary power over global financial systems, and they exercise this power regularly. Understanding this doesn't require becoming a monetary expert. It simply requires recognizing that currency and wealth are different things and positioning yourself accordingly. And if this way of thinking resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and explore these concepts further. The practical implications are straightforward. Instead of accumulating currency, accumulate assets. Instead of focusing on income, focus on purchasing power. Instead of measuring wealth in dollar terms, measure wealth in terms of productive capacity and real resources. This shift in perspective changes everything. It transforms you from a passive participant in someone else's monetary experiment into an active player who understands the rules of the game. Real wealth isn't measured in currency units. Real wealth is measured in your ability to maintain and improve your standard of living regardless of what happens to monetary systems. Real wealth is independence from the decisions of others. Real wealth is understanding the difference between what appears to be happening and what's actually happening. Da Vinci spent his life studying the mechanics of reality beneath surface appearances. He understood that mastery comes from seeing what others cannot see, knowing what others do not know, and acting on information that others don't recognize as important. The wealth illusion persists because it serves the interests of those who control monetary policy. When the majority of people focus on accumulating currency, they become dependent on the stability of that currency. This dependence creates political and economic power for those who control currency creation. But dependence is optional. Understanding is available. The choice between participating in the illusion and understanding the reality beneath it is entirely yours. The 95% focus on the illusion. The 5% understand the mechanism. Vinci would have immediately recognized which group holds the real power. This isn't about predicting economic collapse or timing market movements. This is about understanding fundamental principles that remain constant regardless of specific economic conditions. Currency systems change, but the underlying dynamics remain the same. Those who understand these dynamics prosper. Those who don't remain vulnerable. Think about the wealthiest families in history: the Medici, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. None of them built their fortunes by accumulating currency. They built their fortunes by understanding how monetary systems work and positioning themselves to benefit from that understanding. They financed governments, controlled resources, owned productive assets, and created systems that generated wealth independent of any specific currency. Their wealth survived currency collapses, wars, revolutions, and economic upheavals because it existed independent of monetary policy. This same understanding is available today. The principles haven't changed, only the scale and sophistication of the systems have evolved. The wealth illusion destroys 95% because 95% never question its fundamental assumptions. They accept that currency equals wealth, that savings accounts provide security, and that monetary policy is beyond their understanding or control. But these assumptions are optional. They're beliefs, not facts. And beliefs can be changed once you understand the reality they're designed to obscure. Da Vinci's greatest insight wasn't about art or engineering. It was about the power of seeing clearly, about questioning assumptions, about understanding the mechanisms that operate beneath surface appearances. The monetary system is one such mechanism. Understanding it won't make you instantly wealthy, but it will fundamentally change how you think about wealth, security, and financial planning. This understanding is what separates the 5% from the 95%. Not intelligence, not inheritance, not luck. Simply a different way of seeing the same reality. The choice is yours. You can continue participating in the illusion, or you can understand the reality beneath it. You can focus on accumulating currency, or you can focus on controlling assets. You can remain dependent on monetary policy, or you can position yourself to benefit from it. Vinci would have recognized this choice immediately. He spent his life choosing understanding over assumption, reality over appearance, independence over dependence. And there you have it, the wealth illusion destroying 95%, Da Vinci's Code. We explored why effort alone remains capped, how structure reshapes outcomes, and why leverage has always been the silent driver behind accelerated results. If this breakdown sharpened your thinking, continue with the next video. It will take you further. Support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Stay sharp, stay intentional. Keep crafting your wealth the way Da Vinci crafted his work, one deliberate stroke at a time. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next video.